Hello and welcome to part 2 of my 3-part video. So this is how it all works. Based on the symbolism, we know to follow Horus, Isis, Osiris, and Ra. And those four gods are represented by the sun, Sirius, Orion, and Regulus. Of course, Seth is the darkness or the setting of any of them. So their story unfolds across the sky as Mars's tilt, or its obliquity, changes over time. Just like the battle occurs on the face, the story of the gods continues from this mound, this tiny reflection of the D&M pyramid. From here, the perspective proves to be ideal. Highlighted on this graphic in red is an amazing conjunction that occurred 13,000 years ago. 13,000 years ago, a trinity rose out of the D&M and became the literal apex as viewed from the mound in the city square. This correlates incredibly well to ruins we find here on Earth. Well, some of them, because some of them are even older. And it seems as though the alignments of Cydonia mark significant epochs in our ancient history. Not only that, the current alignments and future alignments of Cydonia appear to refer to prophecy. Now I'm sure everybody's jumping out of their chairs and screaming, "He just said prophecy!" Well, just remember that the Bible says heaven on earth, and I keep reminding people of that. Continuing on, what we learn when we extrapolate the summer and winter solstices is that as Mars passes through critical tetrahedral angles like 19.5, 23.5, 22.5, we find that the corresponding solstice lines are marked by both the face and the D&M pyramid. So let's simply observe those same lines on high-resolution data. The green line passes tangent to the site on the side of the face, which we know as the testicle of Seth. The red line passes right through the eye of Ra and tangent to the mouth of Horus. The white line dissects the face perfectly in two and runs tangent to the teardrop. The blue line right through the corners of the eye of Horus and barely touches the eye of the lion, the eye of Seth. The black line right tangent to the helmet and out again through the tip of the lion's ear. And the tip of the lion's ear comes into play so many times when you're working with the geometry. The yellow line is our current line, and that passes right through a marker that is hovering right above the face. Here we have those winter solstice lines imposed on high-resolution data of the D&M pyramid. What I'd like to talk about is the current yellow line and remind everyone that that line is now leaving the D&M pyramid. Well, once I measured, I discovered that the next winter solstice just happens to be on March 13th, 2013. And that threw me back because that's my birthday, and on that day a trinity will be rising out of the D&M pyramid. That trinity will consist of the earth and the sun, followed by Regulus or Ra. And I think that is very significant and very symbolic because of the idea that we cannot see God, but we know He exists, or we have faith in Him, so we know He's there. I think that's really an interesting interpretation. Science is nothing if not prediction. When I carried out the geometry of the stars, there were some coincidences that were impossible to ignore. To make a long story short, these geometric coincidences were revealing the position of our sun's hidden companion over time periods of thousands of years. So after one completes the geometry, one learns that this dark star orbits our sun once every 39,000 years, or 19.5 times 2. I can also tell you that currently she is residing opposite of Orion in the celestial sphere, and I can also tell you that she orbits our sun at an inclination to the solar system's ecliptic. These are very, very specific predictions about what is out there and its orbital parameters. Science is nothing if not prediction. Okay, so let's take all this one step further and view Cydonia from a much larger perspective. What you're looking at in this illustration is our solar system's ecliptic against the galactic equator. And it just so happens that currently this relationship is a perfect 60 degrees. What the sites and markers are trying to tell us is that this relationship also shifts over time. Now, if one applies a little logic to how the reflections are connected and what each specific geometric line represents, it becomes abundantly clear that the fort also represents a planet in our solar system that no longer exists. So what happened to this planet? Simply, it exploded. Now, how do I know this planet exploded? The symbolism. We find a dragon on that 33.3 line. And the dragon, of course, represents destruction. And sure enough, we find evidence of an exploded planet right where the asteroid belt is. And it stands to reason that this is exactly what the symbolism and geometry is trying to express. Here, next to the dragon on the fort, is this Sphinx of Seth. And not only does he look dark, but he also appears to be rather sad. And I think that's indicative of the explosion that occurred. But his presence also makes me wonder, what was the cause of Planet 5's destruction? Was it man-made? Was it a war? Or was it the alignments? Was the dark star in a place that catalyzed the destruction of Planet 5? Time will tell. If we walk the geometry back 2.35 degrees, or half of 4.7, we find this image. And I go into detail about this image. There's a little bit more to it than what I'm about to explain, but it should suffice for now to say that you're looking at an image of Ra, and when viewed in the context of the exploded planet, it appears that this image represents a time of high civilization before this Planet 5, as Dr. Van Flandern has called it, exploded.